Will you do that real quick?
Hello, hello.
That's not what I did, but whatever. Yeah,
I
talk.
don't make noises like that.
I know. Talk more into it, like just so I can see the level.
Hello, hello. Am I supposed to say anything specific?
No.
I feel like I'm hovering over it. Does it matter?
You can lower it.
Okay.
There's no way my camera's level. There's no way.
Well, then go fix it.
I'm fixing it. I think it's good enough. Well, hello and welcome back, everybody.
Which camera am I supposed to look at?
Any of them? None of them.
Okay.
I talked to D-Bag how we're
Just
supposed to be
talking
to each other.
Okay.
But then whenever we started doing that, he was drifting further and further
Yeah.
from his microphone. So try to be conscientious of this, but also look wherever you want.
Yeah. So that goes back to your having the across the table discussion.
Yes. Soon.
Soon.
And I'm going to get rid of the cluster on the table because in the thumbnail, I just see a bunch of black cord going everywhere. It just looks
We're
like
going to
crap.
manage expectations and say that's 3 to 4 months down the road. If you're putting it in your gym or other building, just saying.
Yeah, there might be a lot more podcasts here. I don't know. Depends how many I film.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, I can hear your heater fan.
Okay, but it's so cold.
It's not that cold.
It's not that warm.
I wore pants today, so I'm definitely not cold.
Ooh, that even clicked in the microphone. That's weird. Is
Yeah.
that better?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I think it's still off. Yeah, it's off. I think that's just the furnace.
I don't know. It's making some noise. If
Well,
you're that cold, you can leave it on.
This is off. I think that's the furnace, which it's 30 degrees outside, so we're going to have a furnace.
Wait. You can't hear the furnace on there.
Okay.
It's probably fine.
Let's hope.
Okay.
Because we've filmed how many of these and not used them? You and I have done at least 2.
Yeah, we've filmed some podcasts. Did I? Yeah, I never uploaded one, did I?
No.
No.
Those are in my basement, so they weren't in this setup. But
Yeah, I had a beard in one of them.
yeah.
I wish I had one now. That was funny.
You could show a little snippet of it, like
Yeah,
we tried.
I still have the footage on there.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't upload it. I think I just didn't like it enough.
Well, I think the biggest problem was most of it was filmed on the
Just my
iPhone.
phones, yeah,
And
we
it
got,
wasn't, the files couldn't transfer.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't
Yeah.
get, like, the hour-long iPhone clips onto my computer.
Yeah.
But
So
now
it
we
was-
have cameras that don't have recording limits and have SD cards, so...
It's called technical difficulties.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides, I had to come back on and defend myself after your intelligence conversation. There's a whole...
My mom thinks I told the wrestling story wrong. She thinks that I wanted to wrestle in 7th grade.
Definitely asked to wrestle, which I think was out of obligation because your dad was a state champ and you thought that was the natural progression of things. And you did really good for a match or two until you lost, and then you were pissed. I don't know if I can say that in this G-rated YouTube
You
world.
can say whatever you want.
And then you hated it. And then it was, I'm quitting. And then that's when my maternal you don't quit thing, was implemented. And
Is
I
that
made
maternal?
you
I think that's familial. I think that goes just down the bloodline or something.
Yeah,
Some
I
pride.
think it's a pride thing. It's a generational thing. It's how I was raised. And it is what it is.
Nothing too wrong with that. All right.
But past wrestling. Let's just
Hold
go
on, let's unpack this first, okay?
Okay.
She's saying I wanted to wrestle
Uh-huh.
to follow in my father's footsteps. When have I cared about my father's footsteps? Ever?
And
I
7th
recall.
grade.
I do not ever don't recall asking to wrestle. I remember getting told that I wasn't not going to play a sport this year because I'd played in 6th grade and that I needed to do something. And I remember a conversation in your office, your old office, like literally 30 seconds away.
Mm-hmm.
It was either you in that back kitchen or you and Dad, and you told me how I'm wrestling, or maybe I was already wrestling and how I'm not quitting. I think it was that I'm wrestling.
I would concede that we were probably very insistent that you do something. And at that point, the something had to be something of structure.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have a lot of faith in you doing something other than video games in the basement 24/7.
That would have been what I was going to do, probably.
Exactly. And that was not what we wanted. But once I realized what trampoline was for you and what that was doing for your life, I didn't give a rip about traditional sports, and was extremely supportive to the tune of a really expensive in-ground trampoline in our backyard.
That is true.
So
my mom purchased my first in-ground trampoline.
yeah. Because my whole goal was to support what you loved. And
well, I thought it was you catching up because you already spent stuff on Taylor's cheerleading and Tristan's show
that was
choir.
my justification for spending it, so that they didn't think I was favoring you, but it was
she was favoring me.
Yeah, it was me supporting what you do or did, just like I supported Tristan with theater and I supported Taylor with cheer. That was my means of doing that. But it wasn't until I realized that it was actually a YouTube video that you uploaded prior to your channel being big, where you did like FaceTime with flippers or something like that.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, I genuinely thought you had no friends here aside from Dylan. And well, you didn't have that very many here because people had just turned and been so awful to you. But I was so worried about you. But then when I watched that video, I realized he does have friends. They're just not here. They're all over the place, literally all over the world. And that was really cool. So then it was, okay, he's not just sitting on his phone playing video games. He's communicating with other people who have the same passion he does. And I saw it in a different light.
Yeah.
So,
makes sense.
Yeah. So I think the key for parents in this modern age is to try to get outside of your old ideas of what traditional is and support what the kid loves, like what you guys were talking about.
Yeah, but I guess me being in 7th grade, whenever I wasn't playing a sport that year, I definitely would have just been playing video games, and I wasn't an adult. I couldn't go get a job. I was too young. So I mean, if I was a parent, I'd probably be like, get your ass out there and do something. So it makes
we're not raising degenerates here. We're pushing them to go do something. Yeah. So
I guess it makes sense. Fine, you get a pass.
Thank you. I do wholeheartedly believe that activity keeps kids out of trouble and keeps them motivated. But the activity in this day and age doesn't have to be the traditional sports or whatever.
I was thinking when I was editing me and Dylan's podcast, like why it is that there's like sort of 3 main sports, at least here. I don't know. I mean, surely the main sports might be different in other countries and areas.
Yeah.
But here, they're definitely...
Well, it's because it's kind of like when I talked to Tristan about evolution of everything, you know, and he and I get into discussions about gay rights and women's rights. And, you know, he and I, our social media feed, which you guys have talked about, is totally different. So we come at things from a different angle. Same thing with sports. If you go back in history, football or soccer or whatever, those are just the tools that people had 200 years ago, and that's the things they had to establish a game with.
Yeah.
When did trampolines get invented?
Well,
do we know?
At the early 1900s, I think, but they were really shitty, and then they didn't get to the Olympics till later, and then obviously G-Tramp freestyle trampoline is...
How long did it take snowboarding to become an Olympic sport? How long did it take skateboarding to become a thing? It's an evolution, and it's something that has to happen over time.
Yeah.
And I feel like your generation kickstarted it. So now you have to see it through to turn it into something.
Yeah.
You can't go back in time and make it matter to people 60, 70 years ago.
It seems like it would be difficult to get a super large number of people interested in flips or just movement, right? But it seems easy to get hundreds of millions of people involved in a pigskin being thrown between 2 field goals.
Yeah, I think it's because
you think people just...
They have greater access to it because it's been a traditional thing for longer. I mean, okay, think of all the different things that have been around forever but aren't as popular as football, like, say, rodeo. You know, rodeos have been a thing probably as long or longer than football. Yeah. And only a tiny fraction of the world participates in rodeo.
It's just goddamn yeehaw.
Exactly, and it's fun to watch. But if you if you just look at how society is, for whatever reason, those have been the traditional things that people have cabbaged onto and find the most interest in. And
Well, I guess you
know
don't
why.
have to push over a steer and tie him up in 4 seconds.
Well,
There's
and then
no
there's-
harm to animals, so it's
Yeah.
probably greater public appeal.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that have tried to shut down rodeos because
Yeah.
they see them as inhuman and torturing the animals and stuff.
Torturing, I don't know. I mean,
Team
but
roping,
but
it's kind of torturous if you want.
yeah, I don't know.
Steer
I've
wrestling.
never really watched much, so I guess I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah. Insert a clip of steer wrestling here. I love going to a rodeo. I grew up around it and I don't think much of it, but they literally come off of a horse, go down onto a steer, twist its neck
Oh,
until it gets flipped over
Yeah,
on its back.
grab its legs, tie them up.
That's team roping.
Oh, okay.
But steer wrestling is come down off your horse, grab the steer's head, twist it till it's on its back, and then whoever does it the fastest wins.
What a weird fucking... Who's making fun of these kids in high school? What is
I was
this?
just saying.
I was just going upside down a couple times.
Yeah.
These fuckers are hopping off horses and snapping necks and rain.
And it's whatever you find entertaining. Like, I will never bash
Yeah.
the rodeo industry because I actually love it. But there may be comments on this video that say, Kimby, you're awful. How could you support that? Well, if you grow up with it, it's not shocking to you.
Yeah, it's not shocking to you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
I
Yeah,
think
the
we're
generation gap
so, I think we have, we don't give enough credit to what is instilled in us shaping who we are down the road. And
Yeah.
the thing that I think I've figured out most as an adult is that I don't know how to put this without sounding like I'm tooting my own horn because I'm not, but I think I've changed more as a mid-40s conservative Midwestern person because of my kids and their experiences outside of this
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
And I can't be mad at anybody that's in my same realm.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get where we're coming from because how could they?
Mm-hmm.
So your experiences shape you more than what you want to realize.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I was reading this book yesterday that I got told to get by a friend of a friend who I stayed with or visited when I went to Colorado. It's called The Four Agreements, and it was just talking. I only read the first bit or whatever. I didn't get through much, but it was saying how it was just talking about the domestication of humans and how, the reward and punishment of attention and stuff as a child, and you are just becoming indoctrinated,
Right.
into society.
Yep.
But all of those ideas were already there before you, and so you're sort of falling into the role or acting out those things that they're not necessarily you.
Right.
Although they're useful, a lot of them are, but some of them might not be.
It kind of reminds me of that Jordan Peterson video you sent me, and I'm only halfway through it, but it's a lecture where he's talking about his 12 rules for life. But he talks about how we as a society have sort of established boundaries. We've established right and wrong. We've established, good and bad, and there's different spectrums of that. But by and large, we all live by kind of, at least in the U.S., we live by kind of a social moral compass that has some general guidelines.
Yeah, but it's obviously not perfect. I think what the
No.
book they were saying is you're going to follow these things because you're very young and they're going to teach you them. You're going to have to get any attention and to be fed and to be loved by your parents. And so then you are going to be made of everyone else's ideas, which may be useful, but you should, recheck them out and decide if you really think individually they are important.
Well, what becomes concerning is when it's good and bad, because now, like, your guys' generation has access to more information than anybody in the history of the world. And, I know I don't know if you guys have really mentioned The Social Dilemma on Netflix, which you and I have talked about personally.
Yep.
But it speaks to the fact that we're all getting told a different narrative now. And it blows my mind that Tristan's 22, and he and I, he had only my guidance up into, well, not only my guidance, but by and large, my belief system up to a certain point. And then I feel like all of our belief systems were kind of expanded and tested and changed a little.
Yeah.
And now our belief system is really, really influenced by information that we don't even know whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
And So then the fact that that kind of information has such a big influence on how we think is really scary. And you have to, good or bad, sit back and be like, okay, is this really true? Number one. Number two, if it's true, is it really worth hating your neighbor over?
Yeah.
Is it really worth fighting with someone in real life over?
I was watching more Jordan videos, and he was saying similar things about, don't brain fart on me now. Quickest recap of what you just said.
About social dilemma and just about how the information we get, we don't know if it's truth or lie.
Okay, yeah. He was talking with Douglas Murray, and it was one of them too, was saying how we used to just have different opinions about the facts, but now we all have different facts.
Exactly.
And we all don't even trust each other's facts.
Yep. And that's where, it got to where I experienced this personally, because back when the pandemic first became a thing, I had a lady that was working with me, very, very, what I would consider a good friend, a very, great employee, solid, amazing, ethical, kind person. And when COVID hit, she decided to just not work. I mean, she was, I'm a real estate appraiser, so I go in and out of houses, and she was not comfortable going in and out of houses. And I was livid because I felt like all the work got dumped on me, and we didn't speak for 6 months. And it wasn't until I watched The Social Dilemma and realized, okay, she has totally different information than I do, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, she has a totally different personality and mindset. She's always been a germaphobe, to her admittance. That's not a bash on her. She's the one that carries around sanitary, whatever.
Tristan.
Yeah, all the time. Exactly. And she's always like, whenever we'd get done at a house, she would always be like, hand sanitizer. And I'm just like, oh, whatever. I grew up in a house where an old farmhouse with literal holes in the ground. I didn't worry about sanitation. And so she had a completely different understanding of it and a different set of facts.
Yeah.
And she made a decision for her and her family based on those. And how dare I not allow her to have those fears and those concerns and support her family in a way that she needed to.
Yeah.
And so we had coffee, we cleared the air, we're working together again, we're good. And
sweet.
Yeah, but it's just this notion of social media and the mindset, the information I was being fed, completely influencing how I did something in my actual life.
Yeah.
Which was not good.
Well, so you had an outlook and a view and a set of facts, and so did she.
Right.
Where does the truth fall?
Somewhere in the middle.
It's like we're getting fed these different facts from different sources, and maybe everybody has their own slightly different version of the facts. So where are the facts? What are the facts?
Right.
Because if humans have to gather the facts, but we don't trust humans to gather the facts, and we just ridicule them when they gather facts, then...
Yeah, that's why I've really started to, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but I've really started to only look within my bubble and my sphere of influence, not to bury my head in the sand and not pay attention to what's going on in the greater world, but not to get emotionally spent on something that I can't verify as fact one way or another.
Yeah.
Everything that's gone on in the U.S. recently with our elections is a perfect example. I guarantee you the narrative that Tristan is reading is a polar opposite example of what I'm reading. And I don't think either one are wholly factual.
Yeah.
So then it's just, you got to step back and be like, okay, is this change in president going to affect my day-to-day life right now? Probably not. Is it going to affect it in the next year or two? Maybe. Is that impact going to
be catastrophic? Doubt it.
Is it going to harm my children? Is it going to harm the people I love? I hope not. But how about we worry about that if and when it happens? Because at the end of the day, I can't do anything about that. And hating people who think differently than me in the meantime doesn't do much.
Yeah, no. So. We are in love with arguing with fighting. I was watching some other video, always referring to videos. I don't know which one this was. That's
but
where
stay
I
off
get
of
my
social
knowledge.
media. But hey, we're always looking at videos.
Yeah, well, it's not
that.
Instagram. I'm watching hour-long podcasts and lectures and discussions between public intellectuals.
Yeah.
Which I am not, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, but you are coming from a 20-year-old standpoint that became very successful in an arena that most kids would kill to be successful in. So you
And
have a
most
very
people
unique position.
that most people try in and fail in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm just like, it's not that hard. I mean, there's element of luck, but they weren't doing the right things.
There was a system to the madness back when you had your break, if you will, and
Yeah.
your climb to super
Stardom.
success. Yeah. There was the element of luck in my mind was YouTube changing the algorithm and giving someone like you a chance.
Yeah.
But then the element that had nothing to do with luck and had to do with your hard work, which was you researching what was trending at the time, you putting in the hours and hours of editing, you making sure your thumbnails
Just being out there in front of the eyes. There's just tons of people who weren't making the same level of content as frequently, and so obviously that's going to boost someone up.
That platform is all about consistency and all about dedication.
It was. We don't know anymore.
Yeah. Well, and anymore we don't care. But I don't know that you could find a handful of adults that had your kind of consistency and dedication, let alone 15 and 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
I mean, you sat in the back of your grandma's house on Christmas morning editing a video and rather than go participate in Christmas. That's how dedicated you were.
Yeah, and that was on that old crappy program you gave me. That was the dedication in 2015, and that was when I had 2,000 subscribers. So I had fully had my mindset on this is like the answer, this is the path for me. Before it was there, I decided I was gonna manifest it.
It was going to happen. But see, there were some other things that factored in, because you better be glad I stick to my word, because when you were a sophomore in high school, if you recall, you had just started making money at YouTube, and your first estimated pay was like $200 or something for the month. And you were begging to do online school, and I just knew there was no way I could teach you online school. You won't learn a thing. And you're like, but I'm going to make it in YouTube. I'm going to make this money. I'm like, okay, yeah, right. And I said, if you can prove to me that you can make a living on YouTube, then I will allow you to do online school. And then by the summer, you were making more.
Yeah, it was like a month later.
Yeah, you're making more than what I was.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, dang, now I gotta actually let him do that.
In your face, Mom. Yeah, well, the letting me do stuff, that reminds me of people being blown away of me speeding in my car when I was 17 and being mad at you for not ripping the keys away from me, Mom. What's wrong with you? Well,
Yeah,
when the kid buys the
conversation.
car and he owns the house and is near legal age and will take the keys and drive elsewhere with his money.
Yeah, exactly. There's not much you can do. Yeah, and
He'll just end up in a worse position.
Exactly.
And other kids get to go try things and be risky and adventurous, and so I was just doing mine, maybe on a little bit more obnoxious, rose gold, loud level.
I remember when I was in high school, we used to live out in the country, and I had a 74 Pontiac Grand Am with a 400 big block. Look that
Whoa.
up. That's like a really, really fast car. It was kind of a boat. But I remember being really, really mad at a guy I was dating at the time, and I just got out on the little 2-lane blacktop road, and I floored it, and I went as fast as that car could go, well over 100 miles an hour on a 2-lane road with no shoulder, and then went across a 1-lane bridge while doing this. And this is a hilly road. It was nothing short of a death wish.
Because
I was
100
mad.
mile an hour and
This
that
would've
old
been-
car with a steering wheel is gonna stab you, and everything's made of metal.
Yeah.
There's no crumple zones.
Yeah. So for
Fuck
you to
that.
be in a high performance sports car
Which
that
didn't flip when I crashed it.
exactly, then arguably you were safer than I was even when I was doing my stupid stuff. But to your point, and what I told your counselor at the time, and he's just like, be the mom, take away the keys. I'm like, and what does that accomplish?
Yeah.
He will then hop in that car or go do whatever he has to. He'll go to California, where people are more than welcome just to let him live there and not
And
have
hand me a newer version or their keys to their car.
exactly as long as they're getting their percentage. They don't care.
Yeah, or as long as they're getting their promotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's party time. Here you go, Tanner.
Exactly.
Enjoy yourself. You're a rock star.
Yeah, that's why I know I've told you this, and I'll say it on air. When this whole thing started, it wasn't like, ooh, how do we get bigger, better, faster, make more money? He needs to be more famous. How do we do all this? It was, please, God, let him come out of this safe. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
how much money he has. I remember thinking when you bought the Challenger, I was like, well, if all he gets out of this is a new car, that's more than I had at 16, power to him. And because I thought it was a stupid purchase, but I was like, what do you, it's fun money, it's funny money, whatever. And then every time that level raised, to the Audi and then to the house and then all these things, and I was just always worried about the fallout if and when it went away, because I didn't trust YouTube, mainly because of the hack and you losing that money that first few months.
Oh yeah, I got like $30,000 stolen from me and my YouTube hacked, and got told by YouTube themselves when I just hit 1 million subscribers or was within 20,000, was going to hit it within a day or two. They told me I was going to have to start a new channel.
Yeah. That was what the experts in California told us, because
Our
nobody...
YouTube representatives.
Yeah. They had no idea, because what people don't understand is YouTube is a machine. Yeah. It's a machine kind of sort of overseen by people.
Yeah.
And it was started with good intent. After watching The Social Dilemma, I really believe that it was started with good intent.
Yeah.
But
whenever they said that, like, it would be a good thing if everybody knew of a murder of a black man in a big city, so everyone would be aware of that.
Right.
And like,
and having a like button was nice, because it told somebody, hey, we like you. We didn't know it was going to cause teenage girls to commit suicide because they didn't get enough likes. It was started with good intention.
Yeah.
But in that movie, it talks about how false information travels 6 times faster than truth. So
truth's not interesting.
Exactly. Human nature and algorithm and just sensationalism rises, and that's why we are where we are today.
Yeah, I wonder how many less views, how shorter the view duration would have been on my like old hide and seek videos if they were real. Right? If there was not the perfect thumbnail spot where it looked good, and
you guys actually videoed every ounce of that thing.
I mean, look, some of them were real, but even when I was with like Capron and Corey, like the Funk Bros, when they came, we did like scary hide and seek out.
All the 14 and 15-year-olds out there are like, are you freaking kidding me?
They're
pissed.
Well, look, like I think like I was saying, whenever we went down to Douglas or Rock and did that scary one with the mask on hide and seek, like that was like partly real. We all took our vlog cameras and we went and played hide and seek, but if there was something we wanted added in the video, a reaction or a thumbnail or a pose or some shot, then we would just redo it. Or like, oh my God, y'all are about to be pissed. Like, I know in that video too. Or the one where we all stayed overnight there in the elevator, the green.
Yeah, I was there maybe an hour.
Yeah, well, I would always film the sunset. Whenever it was sunset, like the sun had set and it was just a little light outside, I'd start the camera and be like, oh, guys, it's early. It's like 7 in the morning. I'm so tired. Oh, it's cold. Start my car. I'm out of here, guys. Thanks for watching. Like that was filmed the night, like, and then we'd spend an hour filming the rest of the video and then we'd just dip home.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you call entertainment. Yeah. And I think that's the really.
But we were selling it as real. And that's what all the vloggers were doing. There was no line.
They're still doing it. And I think that's the disservice to young kids, and that's where the parents come involved, is they have to, put all of this in a realistic light, to say, you realize that's fake, right? Yeah. Like I have grown adults send me videos. They're like, oh my gosh, this is hilarious. And I'm just like, that's so fake. Like, why do you think that's funny? I mean, this is totally staged. Oh, no. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't even see anything, like, especially if they're meant to be like shocking or meant to be, can't even think, like prank videos. There was one a friend of mine sent me about a guy who supposedly tried to convince his wife or girlfriend that he swallowed the squeaky part toy of a pet toy. So or that their dog had swallowed it. So he handed their dog to the girlfriend, and every time she would squeeze his stomach, he squeaks it in his mouth. Yeah. So she thinks that the squeaky toy is in his stomach. Yeah. And she's like freaking out. Oh my God. And I'm just like, they're acting, right? She really thinks that squeaky toy. No, she doesn't.
That's so funny that's like, I can imagine now getting that little sliver the rest of your feed.
Yeah.
Old people memes like that. I'm kidding. But there's, oh my God. If I go on my TikTok, which I absolutely try never to do, because I was ripping on it in the last podcast. God, there's little videos like that, just couples doing these fake pranks. I think it's weird because I think that entertainment can only be valuable to young kids, which is weird that you would want your young kid to be absorbing that.
Well,
at
that's
all.
what's sad is I will honestly say that when you guys first started watching YouTube, okay, let me back up. When I was a kid, TV was the only form of medium, entertainment or whatever, and there were very, very strict regulations. You couldn't cuss between the hours of whatever and whatever during the day. You could. My parents.
There was Nick at Night and Nick.
Yeah, exactly. They had to be separate. I didn't even have Nickelodeon. I didn't even have cable. My mom would not let me watch Three's Company. Look it up. It's because a guy lived with 2 women and pretended to be gay so that he could live with them and be in the apartment. And she thought that set a bad example. I mean, this is what we were dealing with in the 80s. But all of that was regulated. You didn't see anything on TV. And then we as a society decided, and society meaning the entertainment industry, decided what got put out there. And over the years, it became more and more, risque, if you will. But it was all still rated, G-rated, X-rated, and everything in between.
Yeah, it got risque. All right, I remember watching in like 6th grade, watching reruns of Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah.
Right above your old office when we lived in that like 1-bedroom place.
Yeah.
I remember watching Everybody Hates Chris, and they had like racial jokes. They had just, my God, it was so funny. And I just sitting there like, this couldn't happen today. But I watched it when I was a child on a child's network.
Yeah.
Nick. It was at Nick at Night or whatever. It came on at like 8 or 9 p.m., which kids are awake. But now that wouldn't fly.
No, and I really assumed, I don't know that I actually gave it much thought, but I remember when you guys you would watch YouTube, and I would think that I just assumed it was held to the same standard that TV was.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
Not at all. And had I not seen your career in your life, I would have no clue still to this day how unregulated it is.
Yeah.
The fact that you had such huge influence, and still do in a lot of ways, over young kids.
Yeah.
That's what YouTube is. In some ways it's really good and it's really positive. In other ways, if it falls into the wrong hands, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And parents don't truly understand. They think if they put their little parental guidance things on YouTube that they've done all they need to do.
Yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, they need to do more than that. But, you're not going to fix that problem overnight, and I don't know how you regulate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. The one little simple thing I've told parents, especially of young kids, most people have smart TVs now.
Yeah.
Have your kid cast whatever they're watching to the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're not willing to put it on the big screen where you can hear it,
yeah,
probably shouldn't be watching it.
Uh-huh.
So if it's...
Well, I say bad words in this podcast, so this podcast...
Yeah, then they may say, hey, you don't need to listen to that kid.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
and
is.
that should be... the parents' discretion, but that takes a lot of effort. And admittedly, I don't know if I'd have done the same thing if I didn't know what I know now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I mean, obviously television's big cameras, a whole crew, writing, all this stuff. And then YouTube is a normal child or anyone of any age with a handheld device, and then they can upload it. And it's crazy that much influence can come from that low production value.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Well, if you think about recently, CNN had to pay a huge settlement to that kid who was wearing the MAGA hat and went after an elder. I don't know.
Was it with the old Indian man? Is that what you're talking about? From long ago, because they shit on the kid and like. Yeah,
made him sound like this horrible racist, whatever. And then when the whole video came out, it showed that he was actually handled himself with a lot of class, and he won I don't know how many millions of dollars from CNN, because CNN is held to a standard that YouTube is not held to.
So yeah, that's
Facebook
the thing.
is not held to.
I think of myself as just a dumbass kid yapping, but what if those same rules were applied and I was held to this? Like, I'm responsible for giving kids the idea to go jump on trampolines, and then now they're breaking their legs and they're coming to sue me, and I'm going ultra bankrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
When's that day come?
Yeah.
Because we don't have... Like, they have those responsibilities, CNN does, but we don't, even though we have huge influence still.
Exactly.
But, like,
I don't know. Where's the line? How do you fix that? I mean, I don't know what the answer is to that.
I don't know either.
I'm just here to tell you that YouTube or social media, the internet, is a wild, wild west, and you have to somehow figure out in your real day-to-day life how you want it to impact your life.
Yeah.
Do you want to use it as a tool, or do you want to, you and I have talked about this. It's like, I think the biggest thing facing your guys' generation is you've grown up with the notion that your social media presence is as much a part of you as the color of your eyes, which is nutty in my world. I'm like, my Facebook page isn't a part of my DNA. Like, I'll just delete something. I don't care if somebody's mad. I'll, whatever. But you guys, it's way more to you.
Yeah.
And it influences your everything. And we as parents shouldn't be sitting there going, well, God dang it, who cares? Just get over it. Da, 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 da. No, it's, okay, what do you do with that? How do you handle that? Because it's not going away.
Yeah. No, it's not.
No.
And I realized editing the last podcast, and I mean, we're still talking about a lot of social media stuff, which is fine, but maybe old to some people by now. But I just, like, I don't know, I talked how I didn't want to sound negative, but I was still just feeling like I was too, I don't know, nihilistic and hopeless about like the way things are. But that's just really not the case, and I don't want to be another person who is hopeless. We don't need hopeless. Like, being around people with poor spirit isn't helpful. Like, here's a line from JP: "You're like a termite gnawing on a temple. There's no utility in like criticizing life like that, because you are here. You gotta live. Yeah. So try to make things better."
And I think you are, because, and I mean, yeah, we've talked a lot about social media, but I feel like, well, the first thing was your 7th grade self and your wrestling self versus your YouTube self and your trampoline, love for flipping and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's your story, and it's an evolving story. And even this podcast is, to me, part of the story. And it will, if you can, kind of be outside looking in and tell people, okay, this is me now. I've taken a hiatus and trying to figure some things out, and this is me now. And I think it's a huge thing to not be part of the cesspool that is online stuff, but more of a positive vibe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, my story, my legacy. I used to, I don't know. I was gonna say something about when you said, like how I was
the 7th grade.
Trample, yeah. Then we moved up to YouTuber, and now we're here. And where do we go from here? I said I'm building this gym, and I'm just glad I found my way back into flips and found the love that I had before, because flips was the answer to all of my problems for like 7 years. And then I just replaced that with work, because I thought this is going to have this big payday, and it's fine if I am not just going out and flipping and having fun, because that's, well, we need to grind and hustle. All right, that's just basically wasting time. We can have some personal time later. We got things to do. Yeah. And so that was my thought. And then now I'm like, okay, yeah, we still have things to do. Let's keep society running and our standard of life good enough so we're not suffering. But past that, what is this obsession with making a profit? What is this obsession with holding our influence? Oh, so-and-so has such big influence. Like you're saying, I had big influence. Well, why should my goal be to hold on to my influence? Your influence should be a byproduct of your action without thinking about your influence. Yeah. It's something like that. Why do we obsess about influencing people? Who the fuck are you? Who are you to think that you should be the one influencing people, and vice versa? Yeah. Which one of us humans are narcissistic enough to think that we are the ones that needs to be influencing and guiding? Like, we have smarter people and some lower IQ people, but that doesn't give you any. I mean, look, you're more competent in a workspace, but your human value isn't raised. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. The whole concept with the gym, I see it as trampoline, G-Tramp, that whole community. If you're part of the community, then it's just, to me, it's the kids who didn't fit into that box. You know, it's like the skateboarders and the whatever, and and like you said with your podcast with Dylan, in this area of the country, there's no place for those kids to go hang out. I mean, Aviate is more of a family oriented kind of place. Nothing wrong with that.
We're giving them a lot of coverage. They're a
Yeah.
local trampoline gym,
Yeah, exactly.
sports facility.
Yeah, which, great, wonderful, go do that. But that's not what this is designed to be. And it's, I hope it pays for itself. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But
Hey, y'all should come to the gym when it's open,
but
so we can keep it open.
yeah, aside from that, I want it to be a place where, like the kid that came to your Midwest meetup in 2019, he was 10-year-old kid. And his mom was the one that wrote an article about G-Tramp.
I remember him. Mm-hmm.
And Better Home, or no, I think she wrote that one in the New York Times.
No, it was
Better Homes and Gardens was the one about you and social media.
Oh, okay. So it was New York Times.
Yeah, she wrote about G-Tramp in New York Times and interviewed us for that. So she had an in with us. And, at the time I thought, okay, yeah, your kid can come, and thinking, he was going to be able to do a front flip and congrats, and we were going to pat him on the back. No big deal. Cute kid, whatever. No, this kid was a beast.
Yeah,
I mean,
10 years old and he showed up. He was doing insane stuff. And I mean, Nadal was at that meetup and he was 8 at the time, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was so cool to watch. And I was just like, man, there's another generation of these kids coming up. And so if there could be a place where they belong, and if we can get a series of events going, that would be awesome.
Well, that's the reason why so many of them get demotivated. I talk and FaceTime with flippers in the community, and they just a lot of them quit and they don't flip anymore and stuff because they don't want to go out on their trampoline alone, especially in cold weather seasons and stuff. It's just, but it gets boring when there's no place, there's no community. You need friends to be, to talk with, to enjoy each other's company, and to push each other to do better and have fun. That's just any sport.
Yeah. See, and you're really one of the few in the community that has reached a level in another sphere, which would be YouTube, that enables you to, quote unquote, make a living at this. So if your goal switches from, hey, I want to influence people and I want to make money off of YouTube, to I want to help foster a sport or an activity.
That is what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it. And that's like, you're a businesswoman, Mom. Mommy, help again.
Working on it.
Help me my whole life.
Working on it. I don't necessarily know the answer either, but I think a lot of it is just being involved in that community and immerse. When you did YouTube, you immersed yourself in it. We all did. I quit my job, set it on the back burner. YouTube became our life for 2 or 3 years, especially because we had to, because as a family, it was a family vlog, really. It was a family. Everybody knew everything about our day to day, and that was a joint event. But when that shifted and you didn't want to do that anymore, Taylor wanted to go back to school. Okay, fine. So everybody kind of went back to their corners and did their own thing. Mm-hmm. So now, to me, we're at like a different place. We're kind of lining up at the starting line again and saying, okay, what does everybody want to achieve? What do we want to do with this? Mm-hmm. And the goal isn't social media. It's, you use social media as a tool to promote something that you care about. Yeah. And if you can help just a handful of kids, even locally, to have an outlet that they don't already have through traditional sports, then that's huge.
Yep, definitely. And I literally adore 99% of the flipping community, kids and young adults that I've ran into.
Or even the people that are outside of the community that support you as a person.
That might not even flip, and the parents of them, so nice people, and maybe all people are nice, and that's just me getting out in the world. Hey, turns out people are cool.
Yeah, most people are.
Yeah. I don't doubt they are. It's but they're all so kind-hearted, and I feel like there's this weird unspoken connection that I have with them. Yeah. Just from probably like even ones that were out of the country that came to the first meetups. Yeah. I feel like we both had this understanding of a mutual past of like being ostracized, being looked at as weird, being called flip fag and all this bullshit. And
I will never forget meeting Jake Brashear's mom for the first time. Julie, love her, look her up. And she brought Jake from West Wichita, which is 45 minutes from our house, to jump on her trampoline in the backyard. And I was just like, finally, a mom that gets it. Like, my kid's been out here doing triples, and I'm scared to death he's going to break his neck. And
here comes Jake doing the same. We had a ball.
And so there was this instant connection with her because she got it, because she understood what I was dealing with you. Yeah. Because you were doing this out-of-the-box thing that nobody understood and nobody cared to understand. And so it was just like what you're saying with the flipping community. And those moms, everyone I've met, same thing. They're just very supportive, kind, parents that want to see their
yeah,
kid happy.
they're like open-minded and just like humbled, it feels like. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, there's a kindness in the air when I'm at the gym, and people cheer for the kid who just landed his cork, even though so-and-so just did triple.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's still
Exactly.
like everyone is just so ecstatic for everybody whenever they're progressing at like any level. And I love that atmosphere so much.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to exist.
Yeah.
You know? I want to be a part of it, and I want to be.
Yeah.
You know,
I
wanna
think
be
that's
both.
an admirable and valid goal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something to work towards. That's something that is meaningful.
Yeah.
You know, and just I mean, you're very lucky to have the means to be able to do that. But
Yeah.
you also, I've told people in my age group or whatever, whenever I describe you, it's like, you know, Tanner got a nice bump in life because of YouTube. He's not set for life. He has to work. He's got to be engaged. He has to care. You know, so
you have to look out. If you own a giant company that's worth $500,000, you can still lose everything. And by the way, a lot of them do.
yeah.
The 1% isn't just stagnant. It changes who occupies it.
Yeah, like that was on that Jordan Peterson. Y'all just got to go watch that.
Go watch Jordan Peterson. Why are you watching me?
The 2 hour.
Go watch Jordan Peterson.
I love how he said that the top 1% in the world have an average have an income or annual income of $30,000 or more, which is worldwide. That's the top 1% make 30,000 or more. Just think of the people around here that make 30,000 or more. That's like most people.
Yeah, and
And-
they're mad.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
furious.
Well, and he said that that if you throw out, well, not in my country, it's like, well, that's convenient. You just look
Yeah.
at your country.
Convenient for you and
Yeah.
not the people in all these other countries.
Yeah. But you have to have the hierarchy dominance hierarchy. He describes it much better than me.
Yeah.
But I love how he talked about playing with Monopoly. He's like, they were playing Monopoly, and then eventually some person's got all the hotels and all the houses. He's like, you don't just in the middle of the game redistribute the houses.
After every turn, we all just give each other equal cards.
Exactly, and then reset the game. He's like, where's the fun in that? And I'm like, that's so true.
Yeah, and it's a level of fun and, you know, something to work towards that is important. And I even was starting to sort of dip my toe in, like, I don't like hating the 1% and stuff. I was watching videos just talking about capitalism, but I wanted to fully understand it, and I definitely still don't. Just like, because I used to be like, why are there people with billions and billions of dollars? Why should we allow one person to get this much money? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. But somebody's got to do it, and it might as well be the dude who put in the time and effort and had the brain to do it, because we need people, private company owners, that have lots of money so that they can make entities and businesses, and so we can all reap the benefits of them.
Yeah.
And it can't all just be the government owns everything with their money, because that's not epic. We've tried that.
Yeah.
Ends pretty badly. And so there are going to be corrupt, greedy capitalists who have billions and are, you know, way too self-serving, and there's issues there. But this system did give us all iPhones and everything. Like,
well, and you know, if you think, I don't know, I don't want to speak outside my level of my area of expertise, but Amazon comes to mind, right? We're supposed to be protected from monopolies, and so that in theory, you know, if Amazon wanted to start charging outlandish prices for everything, like if Walmart ceased to exist and Costco went away and Dillon's, whatever, and there was only Amazon, and Amazon gouged prices and made everybody bankrupt, that would be horrible. But right now, you know, Amazon's providing a pretty beast service where you get stuff like tomorrow at a reasonable price. And if Lowe's doesn't have the 12-inch register vent covers I needed for my rental house that had 14, and I got them in 2 days, that was better than driving to 4 different stores trying to find that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance to that, and we're supposed to be able to rely on our leaders to regulate them in such a way so that it remains beneficial to society and not negative.
Not just a few people.
Yeah.
It's hard. Like, we do need leaders who run things, because we have to have those people, but we also do need other people who check in on them, and, you know, because people
Checks
are
and
imperfect.
balances. Yeah.
Exactly. And make sure things are, I guess, as fair as they can. But I mean, obviously half of America wants everything to be like super equal and moving forward, and another half is just like, fuck them. And it seems like why most people voted for Trump was just to say no to Hillary and give a fuck you to to that side. And it kind of seems like that on both sides. But
yeah, and that's what Tristan and I have talked about. I feel like 90% of what we see is the extreme on each end. If you have 330 million people,
why do they
have
the loudest voices? The small minority that's the extremes have the loudest voices. Well, it's because it's sensational and we want to talk about it.
Exactly.
We don't care about the moderate opinions.
Yeah, because I feel like most people are in the middle. Like, I am a financial conservative but a social liberal. Of course I want my son to be able to marry whoever he damn well pleases, and I think he would be an amazing father to, if he adopted a kid or did the surrogacy or whatever. And I feel like he should have every right in the world to do that, but what social media or what people would have you believe is that there's just these two extremes. This one over the side over here, and everybody just hates each other. And I'm just like, I really think it's more like 5% here and 5% here, and then there's 90% here that are really pretty much okay.
Well, I mean, think about how many people don't vote in America.
Yeah.
Right? So there's at least that number of people who
like half
aren't bothered to go to the poll and to participate in the bipartisan system and to join a side and to. It's not even about there's going to be a winner. It's also with our system, democracy, which probably the best. There's also this loser. And we like having a loser as well. And so that's what people talk about with Trump being out of office. Well, now you guys don't have your bad guy.
Yeah,
and you're going to get bored. So they're going to come up with something. They need something. Like, life needs to be entertaining. This was your villain.
That was the punching bag.
You killed your villain. Or, maybe not. But,
yeah. It was funny. I think it was Dave Rubin I was watching. He's just like, oh, yeah, you drove out the evil dictator, and he ended up at Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago, what's
that's
that?
his, Florida, I don't know, resort or whatever that Trump owns.
Yeah.
So, this evil dictator just went away to live off of his millions. Good job. So it was just kind of comical. But, and again, like I said, that just goes back to extremes. And that's where, if I'm truly honest, I have no clue what exact policies each side. Well, I know what I read, and I know there's some policies I agree with or don't agree with. Yeah. But as an individual, I have very little influence on any of it. So I just probably need to just stay in my lane and take care of my own stuff. But
I don't know. I feel like there's so much overlap in human nature and just being rational, understanding creatures. We probably all would agree on so much more, but we have these two, Democrat or Republican. Yeah, exactly. Or you be liberal. And I feel like they'll say this senator is this and this senator is this, but in reality they probably are a gray area of both. They probably are all reasonable people, but we love these titles. We love putting people into a group so we know where they are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with television versus a podcast. In television, whenever you'd go on an interview, you had 30 seconds to basically say something that sort of summed up your views, so people knew where you stood, so they would become interested and know if you were just where you stood in an interview, so they could either side with you or not.
Right.
And so that was the way it was. But now in podcasting, you have an hour to just talk about.
Well, and that's what saved
ideas.
Jordan Peterson's ass, honestly, because he was first vilified and labeled as extreme right because of his beliefs with regard to, I believe it was transgender pronouns in Canada.
It was Bill C-16, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's what started, and had he not uploaded his lectures to YouTube prior to all of that, which showed that he was in fact a fair, kind, honest, fact-presenting human being, he would have been massacred. I mean, they tried.
Yeah, they tried.
Yeah.
And now there's 30 million viewed videos of him slaying these libtards, man. Just kidding. But he is so smart. I am rewatching his Maps of Meaning series on YouTube. It's a playlist he has on his channel. Just 2.5 hour long videos of him talking in his classroom. I don't know if this was at Harvard or wherever.
I think it was Harvard.
And it's just, he's up there lecturing about his book. He wrote the book Maps of Meaning, and he's just explaining.
I need to read that.
I mean, he's a psychologist, but I love listening to it. And I'm sure there's other geniuses and there's some real intellectuals out there watching this right now. This kid's beating off to JP, but he should really go learn about this guy. It's I'm just getting into it, okay? There's probably some other greats. Jordan's one of them.
We're working on it here. So, but see, I think just having an inquisitive nature with regard to that stuff is step one.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're going to spend your time on social media or spend your time on your phone, try to make it, you know, something that's adding value to your life.
Yeah.
You know, because like I said, it's not going to go anywhere, that whole concept.
Unless we have a solar flare that renders all of our electronics useless for
if we have
years.
the whole Walking Dead hard reset, I mean, Tristan's going to be the go-to person there. He's got it all. He's got it all memorized.
Tristan's got all the Walking Dead books. He knows how to survive.
Yeah.
He loves to talk about zombie apocalypse. But I'm pretty sure when he thought someone was breaking into our mansion we lived in Andover, he grabbed a katana to try to fight off this intruder, which I'm sure that would have went great. Could you imagine Tristan with a katana? This is what it would look like exactly.
That's so funny. That's what any of us would look. Well, you might look a little more.
I feel like my I don't know, fight or flight would kick in, and I would act like I am whenever Rose runs in the house muddy, pissed as hell, and do what is necessary. Like I would grab her ass and walk her 200 feet out in the cold to the.
See, I just have this whole different mindset, which is ignorance is bliss. Like I get in trouble from a guy I've been dating for the last several months. So, newsflash, Kim has a boyfriend. That never happens.
Oh my God.
But when I work at my office at night, I never lock the door. And he gets annoyed at me. He's like, just lock the door. Why would you not lock the door? I'm like, because I don't want to worry about needing to protect myself. And I go to houses of people I've never met in remote places by myself all day, every day. You know, like who's
your whole life
my
you've been doing
whole
that.
life, yeah. So who's to say they're not some crazy mass murderer that has lured me out into whatever? If I thought about that every day, I couldn't function.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you just have to live in your own little reality.
Yeah, I mean, but that has happened. There are real estate agents that have been murdered, especially women.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's terrifying.
I mean, I'm sure there's been times where you've gotten bad vibes, whether you're going to pick up a piece of furniture or work at a house.
One time.
In
there's 20 years I had.
Was it when you were buying some stuff? Because I remember like within the last year, you were like.
Yeah, that was Airbnb stuff. I forgot about that.
You're like, I'm going to meet this guy off Marketplace. Kind of looks like a serial killer.
It's kind of sketch. Don't want to come out. Yeah, so that I got help with. But when I sold real estate full time, there's only one time I remember feeling really uneasy, and it was going out. This was before cell phones were really good like they are now. So I was going to an area where I knew a cell phone would never work, and it was a vacant house, and it was some guy I didn't know, and it just gave me a bad vibe. So I had my dad go show it for me. That's back when I used to sell real estate with my parents. So
wait, so your dad showed up? Were you already there alone, and then he came, or
I just had him handle the appointment?
Oh, so you didn't even go?
I didn't even go. I was like, hey, go meet this guy. Go show this house. And yeah.
That is called smart.
Yeah.
Any young women out there, feel yourself in a similar situation, go with your gut.
Yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
I don't know why
Everybody's got like pepper spray. You know, my girlfriend's got like pepper spray.
And I'm the idiot that doesn't. I mean, Bryn, the gal I work with that I was telling you about, she packs. She's got a concealed carry. Pistol, we'll be in like the sketch part of town, and she's got her satchel on and I'm just doing my thing, and she's like, Kim, what are you doing? I'm like, measuring the house. I mean, like, she's always on guard, and kind of like she is with hand sanitizer, and that's just who she is. And like I said, I think I personally would drive myself crazy, and it would just cause me a level of anxiety I couldn't stomach, and I would physically get sick from it. So I have to just not think.
I mean, that it's legit. People, especially with prone to anxiety and depression and stuff, it's just not helpful to waylay yourself with all these what ifs and worries, because it's just going to end up hurting you more in the long run. You can't, especially when there are things you can't possibly do anything about. Worrying about the fact that there are psychopaths isn't going to get rid of the fact that there will always be psychopaths.
That's why I stopped reading up stuff on the election and everything else, because I found myself not sleeping. I found myself feeling physically sick, and I was just like, what is this doing in my life? And nothing good.
Leave it to the goddamn bureaucrats or the people that want to do this.
Yeah.
All right.
Just let them go.
Surely if they dedicated their lives to it, they'll figure it out. If it was fair election, blah, blah, blah.
My little stint with 5 years on the school board was enough to realize I'm not a politician. Don't need to be a politician.
I remember you being very annoyed. Because, she was on our local school board for when Taylor was in. Or was I in school?
You were all in school. Because I stopped when YouTube went crazy. I had to step down because I couldn't make it to the meetings because we were traveling so much.
But I remember you being annoyed because you would literally see
I would come home ranting.
line. And you would be like, explain to these people in a logical way, but they wouldn't listen to you because you were a girl and they didn't want to be.
That's how it felt. I've never felt like being a female was like a problem. I've never felt a male chauvinistic vibe in my entire professional life, and I'm in a predominantly male industry.
Yeah, but this isn't a powerful industry, but when it comes to making rules and being a powerful person, they don't want to listen to a woman.
No, they did not. I actually remember telling one of the guys, you can stop being condescending at any point in time. I literally told him that in the
middle of the meeting.
Yeah, because I was livid.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm actually a very smart single mother who makes like a dual income by myself.
I have an accounting degree. In case you were wondering, I kind of understand business, but hey.
And it's been like near impossible for anyone of my gender to get up here in recent millennia, so
well, and in their defense, again, the vast majority of them on that board were educators, so they came from an education background, not a business background. They view things completely differently than me. They're good people, they're honest people, they have their beliefs and their set of logic, and that's what they adhere to. I was one person on a board of 7 that had basically no influence. So to me it was like, okay, if the community has continued to elect these same people, then apparently the community doesn't care either. So why am I killing myself trying to change something that obviously nobody really thinks is a problem?
Yeah.
And so I just
see, if the member on the board doesn't have much influence, what does that say for a grander system? Like there's probably a great reason why half the country doesn't go out and vote. Me included this most recent time around. The first time I could have, but I wasn't gonna go. I didn't have one. I wasn't going to go there.
If you're not fully, you kind of have to have, I think, anyway, just kind of a few key points that you hang your vote on, So like for your brother, it's gay rights, and that's his my primary thing to vote on. Tristan, we may just need to do a 3-way podcast so we don't feel like we're just sitting here talking about it. But for me, it's hang my hat on thing is more conservative fiscal policies, so
what's a fiscal
financial policy? Like how things are run, who gets taxed, who pays more in, and that kind of thing. I just really, really believe in a society where a small business can thrive, as much as a large business. I just believe that if you work hard enough, you can succeed in this country.
Well, you're not bound to your place, and you're in the societal hierarchy like some people would like to think that they are. They're not completely, there are the people that they can't change their position, whether it's health or they're not mentally fit to, but there's a lot of people who could go out and do it, and there's endless examples of people that have of all different everything. I
fully think, like, especially in our hometown, you can rent an apartment downtown for $500, you know, and then you might have $150, $200 a month in utilities, and you are within walking distance of jobs where you can make $10 to $12 an hour. You can do that, and if you're a really, really solid employee, within 6 months or a year, you're gonna get a raise, you're gonna get an advancement, you're going to move up.
And if you don't, and time's passing and you feel like you're getting taken advantage of, isn't that wonderful? You can leave.
Exactly.
Like, you can't just up and leave because you need another plan, but you can devise another plan, make more resumes, and do like the steps necessary to change the outcome. You're not bound, you're not destined to stay where you are.
The heartbreaking thing to me is that I feel like I grew up very poor. I don't feel like, I know I grew up very poor, but I also feel like I was shown an example of wanting better and working hard to get it. And I think where our society really stumbles is there are areas of the country where kids just aren't shown that. So even if the tools exist 6 blocks from where they live, if they don't see them and they don't really know that they do, and they don't know how to put them into place, and this goes from all spectrum of races. Go watch the Hillbilly Elegy. God, don't want to get into a race thing on this thing, but I'm just saying these problems exist so many places everywhere, not just the U.S., everywhere. That's why there needs to be even things like this where you you educate kids and say there is a way out, try to research and find those ways out.
So you're more conservative with like, go out and sort of what we were just talking about, go out there, make a change in your life. You can go rise the ranks and work harder and this and that. But, it was obvious. There were obvious ways in which we needed to work harder to better our lives in the past. Like, we were fucking cold. We were hungry. We could have better houses, better roads. There's still things that can be improved on now. But it feels like, to me at least, we're getting to the point where it's not obvious what other material things we can do to benefit our well-being that we can create jobs for. Like, yeah, we need to repair power lines, repair roads. Things are going to need repaired. They fall apart. But people say, like, everybody needs to work. Everyone needs to get off their lazy ass and do this. Well, what happens when we've made things good enough, technology great enough, where we don't need people to go out and work.
You don't
we need to have
jobs at McDonald's because they're all computers.
Exactly.
That's where they're headed.
I know we need conservatives to start smoking weed and chill out.
Maybe.
What is this grind about? Yes, we need some hardcore grind people, but they like to shit on people who chill and enjoy themselves and spend their life a different way, when I think that is what most people are going to have to learn how to do, because there's just not going to be that much stuff to do.
I think most conservatives get aggravated by the notion that they work and provide for people who just want to sit around and be lazy and do nothing. And there are those people, but I don't know how you ever, eliminate those from society. It's always going to be a thing. So, that's kind of a sticky situation, because, like I've said a million times, you also only have your point of view. I can sit here and talk all day about, you could go here and do this, and this in Augusta, Kansas, and then there's somebody over here in Detroit going, and that doesn't happen here, lady. Shut up. You have no clue.
Yeah, no, I'm probably offending some people. They're like, there's endless things to work on here for the next 300 years, and there obviously are in other places. That's probably not a near future for a lot of places, but I think it will come eventually, and so to think that it won't, with the trajectory, look at all the things we have now.
We talk about how, people just want to focus on the negative, and I was watching a 2020 episode about a serial killer from back in the 70s and 80s. I think I told you and your brother this. And they kept showing video from the 70s and 80s about what life was like back then. And one thing that really stood out was there was a blackout in New York City. I don't know if it was in the late 70s, early 80s. And there was no power in New York City for like 2 full days. Imagine New York City just black for 2 days. No light at night. And this was when crime was rampant. This was back before Times Square was cool and fun. And then
well, it was cool and fun for a while.
Yeah, right now we're struggling. But that whole and then they would show things from the Cold War, and then they would show things from Woodstock, all this stuff, and I'm just like, our world ain't nothing compared to that. That was crazy. And the things that happened back then were by and large, way more divisive. I mean, way more. I mean, like, Tristan and I have talked about how, just like I said, the evolution of things changing, the evolution of women's rights, for instance. There was a documentary I watched about Ruth Gator Ginsburg, whatever her name is, the Supreme Court justice that passed away this past year. Older lady. She was the one that headed up women's rights back in the 60s or whatever. And she was one of the instigators of the women should have the right to do X, Y, and Z. And one thing in this documentary that was it just made such an impact on me, because all the conservative white-headed guys who were opposed to this said, he goes, if she gets her way, the family is going to deteriorate. Marriages are going to go south. Women are going to think they have the right to do this, and this, and kids are going to suffer. They were right. If you look at the divorce rates, they have gone up. If you look at what has happened to families, it has changed. Now, whether or not it's good or bad is left up to interpretation, but fear of the change is what kept them from wanting that change to happen. And so there was 100% a consequence that came from those changes, and we have evolved.
We now have definitely unstable single parent
You
families.
grew up in a single parent household.
Yeah,
and
because you had a lot of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
Because imagine if dad was the breadwinner and you were like,
yeah,
and you were just like the stay-at-home mom with a fucking maid outfit, dusting shit.
that was my intent. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I used to run math equations all the time when you guys were little, trying to figure out if I could stop selling real estate in order to make that happen. And then once I realized I was never going to be able to do that, then I might as well be good at what I'm doing. And then when I got good at what I was doing, I realized I can live this life by myself. And I did. And that's my story. But if I hadn't had the women before me, if I hadn't had the ability to go get that appraisal license, then I'd have been stuck in that scenario. Would that have been better or worse for you guys? We'll never know.
Nope.
But that's, so Tristan gets defensive when it comes to gay rights, and he's not wrong. He should be. But when I was a kid, the rights that exist now are leaps and bounds ahead of what existed when I was a kid. So things take time to change.
Yeah, whenever we'll have similar talks and debates or whatnot, and he'd be getting defensive or mad about something, and I'm like, he'll be just appalled that someone, just the thought that a gay person could be thought of different in society. I'm like, well, buddy,
they are.
You are
different.
The smaller number. You're that is just the way history is and where we are.
Yeah.
You guys are the smaller number. It wasn't normal at one point. It's moving to there, and it can't just skip. What do you want to teleport time? Like,
exactly. If I get anything across to people like this, I feel like is so important. When Tristan came out, it was coincidentally right at the same time that gay marriage was legalized on a federal level. So I had very well-meaning good friends, and so did he, posting things on social media along the lines of love the sin or hate the sin and whatever. And he was really hurt by that. Like, he thought that people were putting him down, and rightfully so. I mean, keep in mind he was whatever.
It's kind of true, but they also meant well for their mindset. But if now looking back, I'm like, oh, love the sin or hate the sin. It's like, let me just wreck your whole fucking logic real quick. Jesus Christ.
Well, but what I tried to explain to him was, you can't be upset with them having their own thought processes based on what they've known and been taught and experienced any more than yours being, they don't hate on you. You can't hate on them.
Yeah.
You can educate. You can have a normal conversation.
We can't fight each other. The only way you're going to make any progress in the direction you want to go is civil discourse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we got. And that's what I really am excited about with podcasts. I feel like it'll speed up just getting everybody on the same page if they do have access to things.
It's like, go back to this very, very basic rule. If you are upset with someone, just do everything you can to put yourself in the other person's shoes. When I used to sell real estate full time, I don't know how many times I told whatever client I was representing, put yourself in the opposite person's shoes. How would you want this to be perceived?
Yeah, because people are furious that their house didn't sell as much as they thought it should. And then you're like, hey, well, guess what? There's 4 other examples of this same house selling for this much. We're not mad at you. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And be thankful for your journey along the way, because I've always been one of those goal-oriented, driven people who had this notion of what financial level I needed to be at to be happy. And it wasn't until we were living in a mansion that was funded by this crazy YouTube life where it was like, we never traveled first class. We always stayed in very average hotels. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want to.
We stayed in better hotels once you got your rewards points after I'd been done with YouTube, and this is your money.
Hey, well, it's different. Like, now we're rewarding ourselves, but I just didn't want everybody to get used to a lifestyle that maybe they wouldn't be able to support. And even the Sagebrush house just felt like a movie set to me. It felt like a prop more so than a home.
Doesn't even feel like we really live there. And I've like driven past it in recent years and stuff, and I mostly just have people comment all the time, you not miss your mansion? Like, what happened to the mansion? Like, oh, this dude really, like, they genuinely
had to call each other to talk. I mean, like, if I was in my bedroom and you were in your bedroom, there was no yelling at you. But like, I legit had to call you.
The point I want to get across, like, it was super exciting at first because I was like, oh my god, this is like 3 times as big as the fucking house we got. Life is crazy. Here we go. We're living in a mansion. I get to move my family in. I'm like a child. I am going to get a supercar. Like, my life's fucking awesome. But, I mean, I just don't like that narrative because it's not, your life isn't that much different.
No.
All you're doing is moving into a bigger set of 4 walls with probably a little bit more pretentious neighbors. They're going to get a little bit more mad at you when you try to
when you
be
have
the
a
way
loud
you are.
car.
Yeah, and I don't. We have this idea, like, like all the things I just, like, moving from a normal little house, ours in Augusta, to that, and all these things sounds like just the most advancement in your life, but it's really not. It's really not. And it seems like that would be like, oh my God, imagine that would just be the most life-changing thing. It's what we all, in the back of our minds, I think, aspire to. Similar things, not cars, but different material things. But it just, what material object or something are you going to get that's going to change your experience of life that fundamentally?
There was no measurable increase in joy in my mind from living there. I still worried about all 3 of you, like,
I said
so
the most
much.
depressing thing I ever said ever in that house.
Yeah, exactly. And well, and not only that, at
Should we tell
the
'em?
Cheesecake Factory in San Diego, it was just like,
That was right after I bought my Louis Vuitton jacket.
yeah, I guess go spend $2,400 on a jacket and then talk about how you just really don't want to be on this planet. Excuse me. I mean, so it's like, okay, how do I trade this mansion in for my son's mental health? Please and thank you. Show me what line I can sign to make that happen.
Yeah. When I was real depressed in that big ass mansion, I remember we were sitting in the living room / kitchen area, and you were like, you said something about me needing, like, how we were just talking about me being depressed and sad because I was probably moping around acting like it. And I was like, I was probably saying some things I shouldn't have, and you were saying, like, I don't want my son to end up dead or something. And I was like, well, what'd I say? Like,
you said that the person that you were then you were already dead, so what was the point? Like, you had already, like, that person was gone, and in your mind it was like, what was the point in living past that?
Yeah, because I felt like I'd traded my life and myself that I now was looking back on and missed for this glamorous one that I thought I needed to get. And I was so disappointed and so, like, I mean, it was basically a script you could read out of a movie and you could be able to see it coming, but I didn't. And then when I was there, I was so, like, mad and resentful at the world. And I've literally been coasting off of that state for, like, the last few years. And I still have this continuous question in my mind that's like, what goal could I go out and achieve that's going to better my life and make anything more enjoyable, like, that's going to increase my standard of living to be just my experience of life? What is going to make it that much better? I can't come up with anything. There's no single goal or achievement that I could go out that's going to alter the way I experience this life. I'm always going to be on this hedonic treadmill of accomplishment and stuff. We always go back. It sounds like I'm dissatisfied with, like, the way life is fundamentally, and maybe on some level I am, because I think it all stems back from that disillusionment that I've talked about. It's like, okay, well, what's the point if you can't ever do anything that will get you to where you want to go?
Well, and that's where I come back to, you have to trust the process, because there are things in life that you can't possibly fathom that will bring you such joy, and some things that will bring such heartache. But you in your 20-year-old space cannot even comprehend those things.
Especially not when me being at 20, the real life experience I've had is that radical success and then radical disillusionment.
Yeah.
And so then I was left just, like, completely nihilistic, completely hopeless. And now I'm, like, trying to rebuild that back up and not sound like a total prick on my podcast and try to become, like, healthy again. I want to be active, I want to be in a gym, be in a community, be in these things, and find joy in life again, because I've totally walked away from just life.
Yeah.
Been like, what's
You've
the point?
spent the last 2 to 3 years disconnecting from a life that you built for yourself, that you thought was what you needed, and what society paints as the perfect picture.
And dude, I swear that is what most people are doing. They're heading towards that picture that society painted, not where they actually want to go, and they're going to end up in the same place. And I swear, it's like the message I've tried to say.
Yeah.
And eventually there's going to be a kid, or not a kid, who'll watch this podcast someday, maybe not, and be like, oh, fuck, if only I would have known that then.
Yeah. Well,
before wasting all those years, I should have done what I wanted to do and made a more modest living.
There has to be this balance of, you know, taking care. If you watch, like, I really like Dave Ramsey's approach to money, because he talks about how, you know, just staying out of debt, number one, and making money so that you can give back. You know, a big part of his philosophy is the giving back portion. And you know,
I never got to that point, really. Because I guess that's where I'm headed now. I got to the achieve and collect for yourself, and now I'm like, well, maybe the answer would be to see my work become fruitful for others. Maybe that could be something that adds some fucking spice to my life.
See, and that's kind of what I want. Well, it is what I want for myself too, because I feel like I've spent the last 20 years being a single mom, and I don't turn down appraisal orders. I've always, there's never enough to be calm, even though I arguably have a better, more stable existence than a lot of people my age. That doesn't matter, because I'm always only comparing it to what my expectation is for myself, and it's not even realistic. So it's like, well, I can't really give until I get to this level for myself and my kids. Well, that's a faulty kind of idea, because then
it'll just forever be pushed back, because what percentage of people are at that place where they can give? I mean, I'd like to say I could, but it's also going to be a benefiting business for me to open a gym. It's not like I have the means to just go toss out money and fun for everyone. Like, nobody can really do that. Even people who own huge corporations are constantly keeping an eye on it and dumping money into this and dumping money into that.
I don't think giving to society either necessarily has to be monetarily. If you can teach a kid how to have, you know, just a business sense, or teach them things that they don't know, they can't gain in some other realm, you know, and there's just more than one way to give, I guess, other than monetarily.
There is, definitely. There's probably way more ways to give, but hey, we're almost at like an hour and a half, and I usually end this at like an hour. Okay,
so I like to talk.
No, it was just a good conversation. We got in deep. That's what we want.
And I don't know what the point was when we started, or the point was when we ended, but here we are.
You guys want to hear my back pop?
Ew.
Wait, one more.
You and your sister and all of your popping joints.
If Dom was here right now, I'd get a real nice one. I can't do it. There's a door in the way.
Okay.
Well,
I'm going to get back to reality and go take care of my day job.
Okay, I'm going to go sit on a computer and listen to a conversation that we literally just had, so I can edit it, change camera angles, and then upload it for a small fraction of what I used to get. I hate this.
But at least, I'm telling you, a small audience with a big influence to me, and especially on a positive note.
Yeah, hey, I'd rather have a small number of people more aligned with just...
It's nice reading nice comments. I'm just saying. I thank you for the nice comments on the YouTube videos.
I'm cool with the masses dipping. That was sort of the part of the goal with disappearing for a few years, because I'd much rather have just people involved, people around me that have similar thought process, in the sense that they want to be open to ideas and they want to have meaningful conversation.
That doesn't mean they always have to agree with you, but at least be genuine and kind in their response.
And just that sort of philosophy, the outgoing, open-minded, kind.
So now that you know we're actually kind of looking at comments on occasion, you guys should like comment as to what you want Tanner to actually talk about.
Yeah.
There you go.
Do it.
What's Tanner B's?
I love reading comments when it sounds like someone said a phrase that they would have said in real life, or it's something I would have heard in real life, and it's not like, there's that obvious difference. There's some link to it. There's some meaning to it. There's some substance there. It's not just like, who's been watching since blah blah blah. Or, oh my God, I've been here since this.
I think it's really cool that a lot of your fans, if you will, are probably like 17, 18 years old now, because I think of Taylor, when she was 14 and all this was going on, and she was like a huge fan of the Dolan twins, she has a completely different outlook on life now at 18 than she did at 14. So that transition, I think, is pretty cool. Anyway. Okay, well, shut up now.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna take my little heater fan back.
Okay. All right. Well, We will see you guys in the next podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Mommy, thanks for coming on and yapping.
You're welcome. Thanks
was a
for
big
letting me defend
sacrifice.
myself.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, come on here and make sure I don't ruin your rep.
Yeah, I basically was like, oh, hell, I'm going on there because I had to set the record straight. So
I'm still pretty sure there's no fucking chance in hell I wanted to do wrestling by my own
you
accord.
might agree to disagree. I will concede that you were probably heavily influenced.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.